Every man begins his journey with a sense of innocence. He believes love is simple, that if he shows loyalty, if he gives his best, if he sacrifices enough, the woman he chooses will honor that devotion forever. He walks into relationships with wide eyes and an open heart, convinced that she will be different, convinced that her promises are unbreakable. When she tells him she loves him, he doesn't question it, he takes her at her word. When she swears she'll never leave, he believes her fully. To him, love is not a fleeting feeling but a vow. His nature makes him trust in permanence, and so he hands over his heart without hesitation. But the truth hits harder than he ever expects. Love, for her, is not built the same way. She does mean her words in that moment, but her truth is tied to emotions, and emotions never stay the same. What felt eternal on a Friday night may feel foreign by the following week. The very same woman who looked into his eyes and said she would never walk away can suddenly feel differently, and when she feels differently, her loyalty shifts with it. This is not because she set out to deceive him, but because her psychology is fluid. She lives in the reality of her emotions, and when they change, her reality changes too. The young man doesn't see this coming. He believes passion means permanence. He believes her words are contracts, carved into stone, unshakable. And when he discovers that they were only ever reflections of how she felt in that moment, it leaves him stunned. That is the first illusion every man must face. Love, as he gives it, is not the same as love, as she lives it. Every man remembers the first time the illusion shattered. Maybe it was the girl who stopped replying to his messages after swearing she cared about him. Maybe it was the long-term partner who, after years of laughter and memories, suddenly announced she wasn't happy anymore and walked away. Maybe it was the woman who swore he was her forever, only to be seen with someone new within days. That moment carves itself into a man's memory because it forces him to see a truth he wasn't prepared to face. The promises, the passion, the late-night words that felt eternal, none of it guaranteed permanence. For a man, love is a vow. When he says I love you, it's not tied to his mood that day. It's rooted in decision, in duty, in the sense that his word should outlast his feelings. Men are wired to think in permanence. A man will stay even when he isn't happy, because to him, loyalty means standing by what he committed to. But women are wired differently. When she said she loved you, she wasn't lying. She believed it then. But when her emotions shift, so does her truth. And in her mind, leaving isn't betrayal, it's simply living honestly according to how she feels now. This is why men are blindsided. They expect her to love the way they love, anchored in decision rather than emotion. But she can't. Her nature ties love to feeling, not principle. And when the feelings die, her loyalty dies with them. The man is left stunned, wondering how someone who once swore forever can now act like he never existed. That pain, that confusion, is the first scar, a scar every man must carry before he can begin to see the world clearly. The true danger of blind trust isn't just heartbreak, it's the way it strips a man of everything he thought was secure. When a man believes her words without boundaries, he opens every door of his life and lets her walk freely inside. He gives her access to his heart, his peace of mind, his resources, his future, sometimes even his very sense of identity. He assumes her loyalty will match his own, so he doesn't protect himself. And that is where the downfall begins. Because when her emotions shift, when her loyalty fades, she doesn't just leave quietly. She leaves with pieces of the man she once swore to love. That's why you see men unravel after betrayal. The man who was steady suddenly becomes reckless, depressed, or even self-destructive. The man who worked his whole life for stability watches half of it vanish in a courtroom. The man who gave his soul to her feels like he has nothing left to stand on once she's gone. And to outsiders, it looks like the woman destroyed him. But in reality, it was his choice to trust without boundaries that left him exposed. Blind trust is like handing someone a sword and praying they won't use it. Sometimes they don't, but when they do, the cut is fatal. Hope, as pure as it feels, is not protection. Words, no matter how beautiful, are not guarantees. What protects a man is the discipline to guard his trust, to set standards, to demand proof before investment. Boundaries are the difference between pain and ruin. The man who ignores this truth gambles his life on emotions that were never built to last. And when they shift, he pays the price in full. When betrayal finally comes, it forces every man to make a choice. One path leads to bitterness, the other to wisdom. Some men, broken by the pain, let resentment consume them. They decide all women are the same, unworthy of trust, unworthy of love. They close themselves off, walling their hearts behind anger, and in doing so, they imprison themselves. Their pain hardens into hatred, and instead of protecting them, it poisons them. These men never heal. They carry their wounds like armor, but that armor keeps them heavy, angry, and stuck in the past. The wiser men, though, take betrayal differently. They don't deny the hurt, but they use it as fuel for clarity. They recognize that women are not villains, but human beings guided by emotions. They stop expecting female love to be permanent and instead accept it as conditional. That acceptance doesn't make them cold, it makes them free. Instead of shutting out love forever, they learn to manage it with boundaries. They no longer hand over loyalty before it's earned. They no longer mistake intensity for permanence. They test words against actions, consistency against time. The difference is subtle but life-changing. The bitter man becomes ruled by his past, the wise man becomes guided by it. One lives trapped in pain, seeing betrayal everywhere. The other sees with sharper eyes, avoiding illusions and protecting his peace. In the end, the line between the broken and the unbreakable is not what they suffered, it's how they responded. Betrayal is inevitable, but bitterness is optional. Wisdom comes only to those who are willing to accept the lesson instead of cursing it. That choice is what separates the man who stays stuck from the man who evolves. Here's the paradox that most men don't see until they've walked through the fire. The moment you stop trusting blindly, women actually begin to respect you more. It sounds backwards at first, but it makes sense when you understand their nature. Deep down, women know their emotions shift. They know their moods rise and fall like waves. They know the promises they made in passion don't always survive the storms of time. And when a man doesn't fall for every word, when he doesn't get pulled into every tear or emotional swing, she feels something she rarely feels with men: security. Why? Because she realizes he is not under her control. He cannot be manipulated by moods. He cannot be moved by silence or swayed by temporary feelings. He sees through the illusions that most men fall for, and that makes him different. A man who trusts blindly is easy to move, easy to discard, easy to break. But a man who guards his trust, who makes her earn respect, who doesn't hand over his soul without proof, that man is immovable. And women, by nature, are drawn to what they cannot shake. Respect is never given freely, it's pulled from her by strength. When a man is unshaken by her games, when he stays calm in her storms, when he doesn't collapse at her emotional tests, she feels both challenged and safe. She may not always admit it, but she craves it. She doesn't want a man she can control. She wants a man she can lean on, a man who remains grounded no matter what. And that kind of man only exists when he has learned the hard truth: blind trust destroys respect, but guarded strength commands it. Trusting women blindly is a rite of passage every man faces, and no one escapes it. At some point, every man learns that her love is not unconditional, her loyalty is not permanent, and her promises are not carved in stone. The shock of that realization either breaks him or wakes him up. The broken man spends the rest of his life bitter, convinced love is nothing but lies. The awakened man accepts the truth, adjusts his expectations, and rises above it. He understands that women are emotional, and emotions are temporary. And because of that, he no longer gambles his soul on something that was never meant to be eternal. The man who wakes up becomes untouchable. He still loves, still enjoys women, still welcomes them into his life, but he no longer depends on them for his peace. His foundation is built on himself, on his purpose, on his strength. Women may come, women may go, but he remains. That detachment doesn't make him cold, it makes him solid. Betrayal may sting, but it no longer destroys him. Rejection may hurt, but it no longer unravels him. He expects emotions to shift, so when they do, he adjusts and keeps moving forward. That is the mark of a man who cannot be broken. He doesn't worship women, doesn't hand over his life on blind faith, doesn't confuse passion for permanence. He trusts slowly, verifies through time, and protects his peace above all. And because of that, he is free. Free to love without fear, free to lead without weakness, free to stand unshaken no matter who stays or who leaves. That clarity is what turns betrayal into power and men into legends.